Hello everybody and welcome back to another video for the day. We're going back into r/Tales of Neckbeard, and also figured you guys liked a little bit of the story time format stuff to come back, so I figured in the meantime I'd make a couple of those with a nice little extra length to it to help you guys get through your day and everything. So if you want to be absolutely amazing, show your support, see more videos like this one in the near future, because it is nice and relaxing to actually record these ones, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment down below to start up them wholesome internet discussion. Just have a discussion about pizza or something, I don't know. And if you have not already, subscribe to the channel and turn on them notifications. Okie dokie, let go. Our first story comes to us from username Need to Say. The 45-year-old neckbeard that called himself an online dom. Ah, Jesus. I was like 18 and currently had an active account where I posted lewds, and well, a lot of weird guys find their way into your DMs that way. But this was something else, and I cringe looking back at this. The guy messaged me, and we chatted back and forth a while, but at the time, I was just really bored, and also liked the validation I got from these men since I was very insecure. We just chatted about normal stuff, some banter. He was actually quite funny sometimes, but he wasn't really the smartest guy, and as I'd later find out, quite the a-hole. Most of the time, he seemed extremely confident though, so I'll be honest, when I started flirting back a little, I sort of imagined him as the typical sexy older man. You know, kind of like a less hot George Clooney or something. Oh boy, was I wrong, but more on that later. I was really wanting some consistent validation from a man that seemed nice, and I did genuinely have an interest in Bible discussion session on Mondays, and still do, so I agreed to be his online sub, something that I'd never do again, and now that low-key makes me cringe when I look back at it. Because of him, that basically meant I had a dumb set of rules to follow, like that I'd have to send him a picture of my underwear and my main outfit every day, etc., and I filmed lewd videos to his liking on command. If you're looking for the benefit this would even have for me, same. But back then, I guess it was just consistent validation. I rarely ever received any pictures or videos of him, which was probably for the best since his appearance was literally a reason for me to go on a 2-week break from that dynamic, because, like I said, he made himself sound a lot hotter than he was. When I saw the first bits of him, I saw that he was an obese guy with a really long goatee that had bits of food stuck in it. And there was brown bits on his teeth that I don't want to know more about to his day. And it was a video where he was talking about making out with me. The irony. Because nothing could make me not want to make out with this man more than this video. Well, I somehow made my way back, and the weirdness continued. Every now and then, we'd call on Discord, and I'd basically be his own personal cam girl while he made up dirty stories or whatever, or told me what to do, and I kid you not, it would regularly take me an hour or two to have that type of ending. At the time, I did enjoy those calls though, since I weirdly just wanted to prove myself that I could make a man nut, cause that was apparently where my self-esteem was at all at the time. Things continued this way, all while I began to struggle a lot with my mental health. Have I mentioned he wasn't the smartest? Because his solution for my cutting was simply making it a rule that if I did that to myself 3 times, he could no longer be my dom. This more so added to the psychological pressure since I still depended heavily on that validation and oddly didn't want to lose him. Well, time went by and he got busy. Meanwhile, I got busy getting to know a really great guy. The thing with that dom beard was obviously nothing serious, we both agreed on that, so it was no problem for me to start to get to know this man without anything really changing. But naturally, I wanted to be with this guy and didn't care for the validation from Dombeard anymore. So I ended that dynamic and he said we could remain friends. Whatever, fine by me. A while after I started dating the other guy, he'd chat me up every now and then, and at some point he had a new sub. The way he talked about that made me realize what an a-hole he really was. He told me his new sub was so old. The woman was 35. That was still 10 years younger than his fat butt. He also started comparing us absolutely unsolicitedly, telling me how much better I was and that she makes so many mistakes and gets so many punishments, which just made me feel angry and disappointed for her. As a cherry on top, I found out that he wasn't honest about his relationship with his wife. He had told me in the beginning, since I made it clear I don't want to enable cheaters, that he was only legally married and actually separated. Should have known it was bull. It always is when they say things of the sort. I know, but somehow I believed it. Well, of course that wasn't true. They were still in a committed relationship and living together all along. Even more angry and disappointed for her, really. So yeah, that was the tale of the guy whose midlife crisis manifested in being an online dom. Edit, another creepy little thing that he seemed to have a huge thing for virgins. I guess unsurprisingly for a 45-year-old who thought a 35-year-old woman who was his little DDLG style, apparently. I mean, to each their own, of course. No shame for people who like that. But I find it creepy when a grown man gets off to a grown woman acting like a child was so old. But yeah, basically he was obsessed with the fact that I was a virgin and generally super inexperienced, which in and of itself was creepy. Yeah, no, there's a fine line between somebody actually being like a legit of the dom something and somebody who just calls that by that name in order to try to circumvent anything regarding consent or getting people to do things because you a Discord job, you might be a Discord kid. You know, that stupid bull that you normally see on r/justneckbeard things. And I know that there are people that say like, oh, age differences are just a number and everything as long as both parties are legal. Yeah, but nobody's gonna just look at it all casually if you gotta use multiplication to get the lower number to be close to the higher number. Hopefully your mental health is doing better, because I know that mental health can really suck at times, and it does take a lot for it to get better, but I'm hoping that it does get better. Our next story comes from us from username ShotInformation882. Neckbeard mistakes my femboy boyfriend for a girl. Now, this is a shorter story, but I figured it was still worth telling. This is my first making a post like this, so I'm sorry if I make some mistakes. Let's set the scene. I'm a 20-something male with a boyfriend who is a bit more on the feminine side, to say the least. They like wearing skirts, crop tops, thigh highs, and other more girly things. They have quite the slender physique, so in those clothes it is quite easy to mistake him for an actual girl. If the title didn't tell you anything, this is an important detail. This story takes place around a few months ago. It was the 2nd year anniversary since we started dating. We had a couple of rough patches, but the relationship was otherwise very strong and fulfilling. To celebrate, we both took the day off from work and had ourselves quite a fun date night. Watched a movie, had some dinner at a good restaurant. It was Outback, I think, and then ended it with a nice little arcade place I know. It was one of those places where it had a bunch of arcade machines from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s where you paid a fee and you can play the library of machines for as long as you liked. We probably spent more time in the fighting game section than we should have. We decided to take a break. I would go over to the small concession stand/bar that they had in the corner of this retro arcade and ordered 2 drinks. Nothing too heavy or potent, just some fruity drink with vodka mixed in. As I waited, I turned my back over to where my boyfriend was, doing a rest play session at the Galaga machine. In the corner of my eyes, I would spot quite the specimen of a human being and the tragic villain of the story. A 30-something-year-old guy with quite the large gut, F-cup-sized man-taters that flopped as he walked, greasy hair, and even a signature neckbeard. He wore some jeans that were too tight for him and some dirty t-shirt that had Mario on it. If he had a fedora, he would have been the masterpiece of this stereotype. I knew what a neckbeard was. I was too familiar with him back in my Magic the Gathering days. I may have laughed at this modern art piece hobbling across the arcade floor, but I quickly noticed he was making a beeline to my boyfriend, who was still playing Galaga, none the wiser to the IRL Bowser coming at him to claim what he probably saw as his Princess Peach. My boyfriend this night was wearing his best stuff. He particularly likes the goth/punk aesthetic, and he really gothed it out. We're talking fishnet leggings and gloves, a black skirt that hung above the knees, a big black spiky boots, and black lipstick and eyeliner. An absolute goddess to this greaseball. Go figure, he locked his beady little pig eyes on him specifically. My drinks were given to me, so I grabbed them and quickly made my way over, fearing of what I probably knew was going to happen. Sadly, he got there faster than I could, which was a feat for him in and of itself. He was quite quick to show his intentions too, placing his greasy man-baby hands on my boyfriend's hip before even saying a word to him. My boyfriend, of course, was not aware of his presence until this happened, and he understandably jumped back and looked at this beard with very visible horror and disgust, wrenching the beard's hand off of him. I was more than pissed at this point, and my boyfriend definitely was too. However, I restrained myself from making a bigger scene, as anyone in my situation would have. Why do you ask? I knew my boyfriend very well, and I knew all too well that he could handle the situation himself. While he was more on the feminine side, he was not a pushover. Far from it. He was a particularly spicy boy when it came to the stuff like this too. So, calming myself, I placed his drink on the table next to me, started sipping mine, and watched the show. I can't remember exactly how the conversation went, but it went a little something like this. "What the F, dude?" Beard, taken aback by his righteous anger. "Forgive me, milady. I couldn't help but notice you across the room. You were so resonating." God, he actually said milady unironically. Was this even real? "So you touched me? That is effing creepy." "I'm so sorry, but I couldn't help myself. You were just so beautiful, and you also like video games. I never knew someone like you could ever exist." Exist, but not for you. Get the heck away from me, you creep. "I'm afraid I can't do that, milady." You can't leave him alone? Why the heck not? This went from funny to now a little intense, but I still knew my boyfriend could handle it. You can't leave me alone? Why the F not? Beard made some stupid attempt at eyes of seduction, and what I could guess was supposed to be a smolder. A destiny. I decided to jump in now, having finished my drink. Boyfriend obviously still had control of the situation, but I decided it was best time to mess with the beard and horrify him, as he clearly didn't realize that the girl he groped was pathetically flirting with was in fact an individual with a pecker, and with one probably twice the size of Beard's. My boyfriend was still putting on his feminine voice too, so Beard had absolutely no idea. I walked over to boyfriend, wrapping my arm around his shoulder and handing him his drink. He sighed with relief at the sight of me, immediately chugging his fruity vodka. "Hey, what's going on?" I looked at Beard, pretending to be completely unaware of the situation. I could have blown up on him, or just gave him a death glare, but I decided to just mess with him for the punchline to this long joke. "I was talking to the lady. Who the heck are you?" He was visibly angry at the sight of me, competition for an already losing game. How dare I stop him from messing with the milady, his boyfriend. I said this with the biggest smile I could muster. Don't you mean her? I looked to boyfriend. He instantly realized what I was doing, and what he himself nearly forgot in the moment. A giant smirk ran across their lips and gave me a nod. The grand finale was now to commence. "You heard me right. I'm his boyfriend and he is mine. What about it?" The transition from anger to horror was a masterfully transition on his face, like the end of a Greek tragedy. Whatever greasy erection he was having before instantly went flaccid. "You're joking." "I don't think I am. You see me laughing? I have a pecker," he said, dropping the girly voice to his natural one, something still relatively high-pitched and feminine-like, but noticeably male. Beard was deeply horrified. He took a couple of steps back, unsure what to do now. "Congratulations, my friend. You're gay." Stricken with such horror and confusion, Beard said nothing more and dashed out of the arcade. Hearing the clunk of him shutting the door on the way out, me and boyfriend burst out into laughter. The rest of the night was pretty great, and we fondly look at the moment to this day. We never saw Beard again, and that's probably for the best. I hope you enjoyed my little story of how insane the whole situation was, but I'm sure it's pretty tame to a lot of stuff on here. I actually think I know what type of arcade they're talking about, because I've seen pictures of a local one that I really want to go to. It very much reminds me of the MagFest 24-hour gaming room, which, if you happen to be going to MagFest, it's definitely one of the highlighting points. And meanwhile, about the whole villain of the story, I never really understood how anybody could go to an arcade which has absolutely nothing in tension relating to, meeting someone and wanting to date someone, and then trying to do that anyway. That doesn't exactly seem like the reason anybody would wake up and want to go out to a place like that. Fantastic date night idea? 100%. Yes, I absolutely approve of the idea of a date night being a trip to an arcade. Going to an arcade, though, hoping to pick somebody up there? Yeah, no. Also, TimTamTom, it was so blown back by the fact that gay people can also like arcades. I honestly don't know what part of that he was actually most blown away by. Our last story comes to us from username WaterEdDown. Did you get your name from that animated movie that is very much not a kid's movie? Mom forgot to give me the nice guy talk. When I was 15, I attended an anime convention with a close friend of mine from high school. Up until this point, we had been going to cons with each other for 2 years without any parental supervision. Some reason our parents trusted us to go by ourselves, and for the most part, it worked out well. I might have been socially unaware idiot, but my friend was incredibly responsible and kept us both in check. At this specific con, we both felt like we were old enough to split up and do our own thing. We were into completely different things and had wanted to go to events the other wouldn't be interested in, so this led to us being separated for the majority of this con. Enter Neckbeard. He was roughly 30 years old, referred to himself in the third person, and address him as a character from Naruto. With him were 2 other guys who were about my age. The 4 of us were all cosplaying from the same show, so we started talking. I ended up learning the 2 younger guys went to my high school, and desperate for local friends, I stuck to this group like glue. At one point during this convention, the Neckbeard suggested we go to a panel that was 18+ age restricted. Of course, I couldn't go since I was only 15, and I told him such. His response, "Oh man, you're so hot. I just assumed that you were 22 or something." As an unpopular, chunky little kid, this was something I had never heard. I remember it making me slightly uncomfortable, but I couldn't bring myself to do anything more than just awkwardly laugh it off and said thank you. I was so afraid of being rude. After the convention was over, I was added to a chat with the 3 of them. It wasn't that much later that the Neckbeard private messaged me and asked me out on a date. I, of course, didn't know how to politely reject him, so I instead said, yeah, maybe, and prayed it would become one of those things that gets forgotten about. Not even the next day, he was asking me what time would work out best and what movie we could see together. Panicked and not wanting to actually be alone with this 30-something neckbeard, I gave my favorite excuse. "Sorry, my mom said no." He responded with, word for word, "I know you never date online. You're too cool of a girl for that. Honestly, you just have guys at school falling all over you. Well, I'll just have to get to know you better and hope no one takes you first." He would say stuff like this constantly. He would throw in gross statements in the middle of group conversations like, "Oh man, you're such a cool rocker chick. I bet you have guys lining up for your attention." Or, "I'm so sad, you probably wouldn't go for a nice guy like me," and never stopped trying to ask me out. He even went as far as to suggest meeting my mom so she'd feel more comfortable with me going out on a date with him. He even once told me, "I try to be kind to every woman and young woman I meet. My dad's most important lesson that if ever taught me was that women deserve the ultimate respect." This was after the night I punched my mom in the face when I was 14, 9th grade, when I got really mad at her and had seen Luffy hit Alvida in One Piece and was trying to do an impression. "What stereotype would you say you are at school?" It didn't get much better from there. In the months following, I became really good friends with the 2 guys I had met with him at the convention. Almost immediately after getting home from school, the 4 of us would all get into a Skype call and talk for hours. I didn't really like the Neckbeard, but he was friends with the other guys, so I just sucked it up and didn't complain. One day, I remember just chilling doing homework while I was in the call with him, and out of nowhere, the Neckbeard cuts off whoever is talking to ask me, "What color is the underwear you're wearing right now?" Of course, I attempted to laugh it off and do my best to change the subject. I tried to brush it off as one of those LOL so random moments. But not even 10 minutes later, I hear my friend in the call go, "Dude, that's effing gross," and he was actually pretty upset, something I had never seen. I learned much later that the guy was jerking it in the call and texted my friend to brag about it. Not long after, we all went to another convention. I managed to avoid the neckbeard for almost the entire con, and things were going pretty great. It was when I decided to go swimming at the hotel that I ran into problems. Someone in the friend group let it slip to him that we were going swimming. I remember the pool door opening up and making direct eye contact with Neckbeard. I know he saw me. Wasting no time, I looked away and swam closer to my close friend so I could use her as a barrier. I watched as he made a beeline for me, got in the particularly empty pool, and swam up to me before accidentally bumping into me. Faking a surprise, he told me, "Oh, my name, is that you? I didn't realize. I thought you were just another hot swimmer," in a weird robotic voice that made me assume he had totally been rehearsing it. It was there my friend learned about the 30-year-old neckbeard who had been pursuing her 15-year-old best friend for nearly a year. It was a harsh wake-up call for me where I finally realized just how messed up it actually was. I spent a lot of time after that worrying about what would happen at the next con if he saw me. As luck would have it, this idiot thought it would be great to make a Facebook post that said, "Can't wait to go to insert convention name and get all of that underage kitty." And as if that wasn't bad enough, his mother, whom he had lived with, of course, saw the post and banned him from going. A grown adult man had been grounded. I didn't see much of him after that. It's 10 years later, and I still regret not telling my mom or friends anything. While going to anime conventions can be an absolute blast of a time, especially if you go with a group of friends, because it's a bunch of a collective of people who have a mutual interest in something. There's a whole lot of fun that can be had with that. At the same time, you still need to have a little level of caution when it comes to all of it, because yeah, you might be able to make some new friends, but these people are still very new to you, so there's still more that you need to learn about them. Hopefully that experience hasn't deterred you from going to any future conventions, because there's still a fantastic time for if you really like anime. It's a great time. Definitely recommend it. I went to Otakon, and the next day they released the rooms. I already booked another one. But yeah, regardless of where the event is or what the venue is, there can be some people that are still weird, and very much this is a unfortunate example as to that type of person. But still, anybody that like compliments on your appearance within the first 5 minutes of meeting at you, saying like you're hot or attractive or something, especially if you're underage, that already is a bit of a yellow flag. But in any sense, I still recommend the buddy system very much because you have more fun going with friends nonetheless. Plus, it also is some sense of security because you're going with more people, and especially with people you actually know. Like, one thing that always keeps me a little cautious is whenever I see posts on forums where it would be people looking for 5 other people to room with to kind of share the room rate, and none of that ever sits right with me. But with that, that is going to have to be it with the video. If you guys like the storytime format videos and you want to see more stuff like this, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment down below to start some wholesome internet discussions, maybe recommend a video game you'd like to see in the background, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel and turn on them notifications. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.